Good afternoon, gamers and spacers. Welcome to an intergalactic episode of Games with Dave. Today, I have the pleasure of being joined by two awesome people and the co-creators of an awesome game called DarkSpace, Derek, the Geek Preacher White, and Than Gibson. Like I said, the creators of the Shadowdark compatible sci-fi game DarkSpace, which has blasted off into the stratosphere on Kickstarter. And if you haven't checked it out, be sure to click the link down in the description, jump over, back it, check it out, and give them all the monies because they deserve it. They have made an awesome game. Welcome to the show, guys. I'm so pumped to have you on and talk about DarkSpace.
Absolutely. Thanks for having us.
My pleasure.
Excited to be here.
So the first question I always start off with is my little icebreaker. How did you both get into gaming, and what was it that really pulled you in to this world of awesomeness?
Derek, I'll let you go first.
Sure. I first got into gaming back in the 1980s when I saw some guys I thought were really cool playing D&D at school, and I just wanted to get in. They wouldn't let me play with them because I didn't have any of the books, and they were all a year older than me. But we were on vacation for Mardi Gras, and I was able to get a hold of the Moldvay Basic book, and I got my hands on it. Came back to school, and they were like, "Okay, you've paid the entry fee. You can play with us now." And I started running the games for my friend for these guys during recess and in the library occasionally, but mainly during recess. And it just pulled me in. It pulled me in because it was the 80s. The best video games we had were Frogger and Pac-Man, maybe Asteroids, Galaga, and all of those games were linear, and the idea that you could just play in a game that was so open-ended just really attracted me. And that idea, now looking back on it, I realized we were telling a story together, and the chaos a bunch of 13, 14, and 15-year-olds could get into when they were just doing whatever they wanted to. It was a sense of freedom for a kid. You got to do what you wanted to do in the game. You didn't have anybody telling you, one of the things I loved about it was you could try anything. It might not succeed, but you could roll for it. And that's what I loved about it.
Yep. I was kind of similar in some ways. That playing at school was definitely part of it. I was a little bit later. I came in a little bit later with the Mincer Red Box. There was a kid that brought his brother's Red Box to school in his duffel bag. And we all kind of like crowded around his duffel bag at recess, and we're like looking at it inside the duffel bag because we didn't want to get it out because it was still the 80s and in rural Tennessee, and pulling a D&D book out was, that was dangerous. It was still going on, and so teachers probably thought we were looking at something much worse than D&D, but that was the first introduction. There was with the Red Box set, and then that was fifth grade, and then I always tell the story that sixth grade I went from Red Box basic D&D to Palladium Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. So
Nice.
Did that, just cranked it up to 11 as far as complexity goes, and then just didn't stop. It was every year was a different game, basically every grade all the way up through high school. So
those are both fantastic stories. So how did you two come together to join forces and become the dynamic duo of Shadowdark Sci-Fi?
Well, so I had followed Derek on Facebook for a while with the Geek Preacher stuff. and realized that we actually lived close to each other. We were actually both in the Nashville, Tennessee area. And I was going to head to GaryCon for my first time back in 2019, and saw that he was the chaplain there. And actually, Derek posting about it was one of the ways that I found out about GaryCon. And so when I got there, I didn't know anybody there. It was my first time ever being in Lake Geneva and in Wisconsin. Well, no, I'd been to Gen Con back when it was in Milwaukee, but it was one of the few times I'd ever been to Wisconsin. So I didn't know anybody up there, and saw Derek walking through the lobby, and I was like, "Hey, I'm going to go talk to him." And we talked and headed off and stayed in touch. And then 2020 rolls around, and it was like I was getting together. I was kind of going crazy like everybody else was with the pandemic, and I pulled together a group of my friends online and said, "Hey, I just need to run games. To stay sane, I need to run games." And so I contacted Derek, and I was like, "Hey, you want to come be in my game?" And that's kind of really when we started to kind of solidify. But then DarkSpace was your idea, Derek, so I'll let you tell that story.
Well, I've shared this before, but science fiction was my first love because that was what I was exposed to a lot in the 70s and 80s. I saw the original Star Wars in the theater. My mom knew I loved to read. I have always been an avid reader, and my mother subscribed me to a magazine, which for us, that was a big thing. If you're a kid in the 70s and 80s and your parents subscribe you to a magazine, that's like, whoa, that you're getting a piece of mail every month from something. And she subscribed me to Analog Magazine, which was nothing but a bunch of sci-fi. So it introduced me to people like Larry Niven, introduced me to Isaac Asimov, all of these great sci-fi writers. So I started reading a lot of science fiction. And one of the things that Than and I began talking to Than about was, I said, we have now in the 80s, of course, I got into fantasy a lot more because that was the big thing. Dungeons and Dragons was all about fantasy. And even though I wanted to try other role-playing games, the guys I gamed with were all into D&D. They didn't want to play anything else. But I'd always wanted to play in a sci-fi role-playing game. And so I told Than, I said, "Than, man, I think the culture is about to shift. We have had a glut of fantasy role-playing games for the last 20 years or so." I said, "We've had a glut of fantasy movies. We've had a glut of all of that. And that's perfectly fine. I mean, I love those things too. But I said, I think people are going to be wanting something different." And because I was wanting something different. And I was talking to other people because, my work as the geek preacher, I go to a lot of conventions, and people are saying, "I want something different. I want to try something different." And so I started talking to Than about that. And I said, "Yeah, let's do that." I said, "Let's see if we can put together a sci-fi role-playing game that is quick and easy," because there are a lot of sci-fi role-playing games out there. But many of them are what we refer to in the gaming world as simulationists. They want to simulate a science fiction world. And the thing is, you can do that with a pen and paper role-playing game, but there are computer programs that do it a heck of a lot better and make it a lot easier. And I'm like, if I want a simulationist sci-fi role-playing game, I could play plenty of computer games out there. There's so many of them out there. And so we began talking about it. And we wanted something more cinematic, something that was quick, something where you could sit down, roll up your character, have it ready to play in 15 minutes, and then start the game within 30 minutes. And so that's one of the reasons we started making DarkSpace.
Yeah. Yeah, and we talked about using a couple of different systems, what worked best, but we were both really familiar with Shadowdark already, and it just seemed like a really natural fit. No one had really done. There were a couple of I'd say early attempts at it that definitely were specific to a certain IP or a specific feel. Like they there was somebody that wanted to do like a Star Wars conversion, somebody that wanted to do a basically just Mothership kind of space horror version. And as we were kind of looking at those for inspiration, it really kind of like quickly we were like, well, I don't want to play just this, because Derek's sci-fi. I mean, you got his background with analog and like kind of like classic sci-fi. He read a lot of pulp sci-fi as a kid. My sci-fi was very like Star Wars, Star Trek, very like big adventure televised movie type sci-fi. So our types of sci-fi were different. We realized quickly we had different flavors of sci-fi, and so that was one of the things we talked about. It's like, well, we want people to be able to play whatever flavor of sci-fi they want to play. And that really was where we kind of launched with DarkSpace to say, hey, let's make this accessible, make it quick, make it cinematic, but at the same time, not tie it down to one thing or the other.
Right. And I think that's a great choice to do, because it allows people to bring in any of those other elements if they want to, but they don't have to.
Yeah.
And that is fantastic.
Or mix and match. I mean, that's the thing that we've found with several people that were like, well, because we can do this with it, I took this from this game and this from this game, and I've made a DarkSpace kind of conversion of both of those things. I was talking to somebody today that was going to use Cyberdark, the cyberpunk or Shadowdark that just finished up, and us for cyberpunk hacking on the planet, but then they get in a ship and go to space, and they use DarkSpace for that. So I mean, it's like that's perfect. Like, we want you to be able to.
That really is.
Kit bash that. I call that kit bashing.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So were there any other names that you had before you settled on DarkSpace?
Let's see. We did. What was it, Derek? We had, Stardark was taken. Somebody had already done Stardark, so we never did Stardark. I think we did talk about flipping it, where it was Shadowspace. I think we did talk about that.
Yeah, we talked about that.
But I think it just, DarkSpace just sounds more, I don't know, evocative.
Yeah, it's a very ominous name. Like,
which is funny because people are like, oh, I get what that's about. They look at the cover, they see the name, they're like, oh, you're like Mothership. Like, well, no, not necessarily. Like, but it does definitely evoke something to get you into that kind of shadow dark feel.
I do. I think that's one of the biggest misconceptions. A lot of people, because there's a lot of grim dark stuff out there. We see that with all the Bork products. Wonderful, great. And I have no problems with grim dark. I even put some of that in my games, but that is the one thing is, I like to run light games a lot of times. I like to run games with joy in them. I don't want my players to feel like their heroes are just, their characters are going to just always just be beaten down and barely surviving. Yes, it's gritty. Yes, you could die in the game. That's an important part of the game. But I also want you to be fighting to make the world, make the game world a better place. I want you to bring light into DarkSpace. And so, like Than said, that is a misconception people have, that it's just about gritty stuff. One of the great products that's coming out, which I think is fun, and it's a third-party product, is a Shadow Carnage Crawler. And it's based
Shadow Crawler Carnage.
Shadow Crawler Carnage. I'm sorry. Shadow Crawler Carnage. And it's a lit RPG product that is fun, has a lot of geeky humor. It's just really great. And that's what we want for DarkSpace. We want people, if you want to run your grimdark game, that's great. You run a grimdark game, because it's all about playing sci-fi your way. But if you want to run Spaceballs, which that made Than and I so excited when somebody posted a picture and tagged us in it at a convention we didn't know anything about. And they said, hey, guess what? We are running Spaceballs in DarkSpace. And I told Than, they get it. They understand. Because that's what we want people to do. Play the games you want to play. We want to give you a simple rule system that gives you the bones to go in, get in there. You've got the framework. These are rules that most people are familiar with. So get in there and do what you want to with this game. If you want to strip out 90% of the rules we've got, but we gave you something that inspires you to play a game, that's makes us happy. We just want you to sit around the table or get online and play games with your friends.
Yeah.
And I think you're going to accomplish all those things with that. It is such a fun game. I'm going to pop a couple things up here. Mint Jam says, I love all the unique stuff, using the Shadowdark rules. What a great rule system. Yeah. And then Midgard Press said DarkSpace is very versatile, which lines perfectly with what we're saying. There's a lot of people that are going to be able to do with it. And I can't wait, because I've already got ideas of like Unicron and the Transformers and stuff like that with this. And it's like, it's like, oh, it's so perfect for it. And
I mean, I think our the stretch goals that we've been doing on the Kickstarter are these legendary denizens that are all created by these very talented creators that we either know, work with, respect, honor. They're just amazing people. And every one of them, I think, illustrates how versatile the system is.
Yeah.
I mean, we've got some like straight up like we've got more board creators in there. So we've got some grim, dark, scary, like body horror type stuff. We've got a heavy metal Viking queen, space Viking queen. We've got what I can only call is like an 80s cartoon villain with his cyber raptors. We've got a Voltron. We've got a combiner that Bob Worldbuilder made for us. It's not like you're going to be able to do so many things with so many different each one of these that it's just wild. So yeah, I think that's what we like about it the most. Yeah, for sure.
I didn't think it was possible to get me any more excited for this game, but this last like 3 to 5 minutes has gotten me so much more excited for this. And the next thing I had, we'll come back to, because I want to cycle back to, I'm going to screw the name up, Shadowcrawler Carnage. Is that right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. I got it right. Yes.
Yeah.
How cool is that to already at the stage where you're at to see people making compatible products to DarkSpace before this Kickstarter is even done, just based off of what started as this awesome little 80-page book.
That was one of the things. Go ahead. Derek.
We had people doing it when we just self-published that little book you've got there. Within the first 3 months, people were already doing DarkSpace conversions. And Dan and I were like, what the in Hades is going on here? I mean, we'd only sold a couple of hundred copies, not realizing that for a self-published product, 200 copies in the first 2 months is crazy. We didn't know that. At least I didn't. Than might have, but I had no idea that selling a couple of hundred copies in the first couple of months. And so people were already asking us, and that was the genius Than did immediately, right off the bat. He's like, we're putting in third party because we want other people to be able to do this too.
Yeah. It was a very conscious decision to put that third party license in. We were already going to have to write, put the blurb in that, we are fully compatible with Shadowdark under the third party license. And when I was looking at Kelsey's third party license, I was like, well, this is very, very, very forgiving, very open for third party creators. And I was like, you know what, I want to do this too, because this is where I've always wanted to be. I've always wanted to be doing my own, creation as well. And if I can help foster other people to get out there and self-publish, because the gateway to self-publishing is so easy now. So I've been trying to break into it for 30 years, and it's now so easy. And we've got folks, I mean, like Derek said, I think The Signal by Terry Wisnott was the first third-party adventure that that somebody published. And that was, I want to say like the first 3 or 4 months that the core rules were out. And we've now had, we've got Bill writing the Shadowcrawler Carnage with Crawl Club. The Midgar Press guys are in the chat. They've got Collision Course coming out next week on Kickstarter, and we're going to be pushing them as well and supporting them. This is the first one that they're doing, and we know several other folks that are. Yeah, and we know several others as well that are like, hey, can I send this over to you guys so you can promote it? We've got a couple that I've got links for that we haven't even gotten a chance to promote yet, but are already out there. So it's blowing up very quickly, and we love it. We love it.
That is just so cool to think that you've inspired that many people to get out there and publish. It's like it really fits in with the whole indie community. Go ahead.
Go ahead, Derek.
Well, it's this community. One of the things I've learned in my 20 years of 20 plus years, but mainly 20 years of doing gaming chaplaincy, is this community is not a monolith. There are so many people out there. And for decades, I've had people, some are big publishers, some are small publishers, who have said, get out there and do it. It's not as difficult as you think, but it would never click, because my brain doesn't work that way. And so partnering with Dan was the number one thing for me. But the fact that if you go to a convention and you walk up to Troll Lord Games, or you walk up to Indie Press Revolution, or you walk up to Wedding Games, or any of these folks, the first thing when you tell them, I want to write my own game, they will start encouraging you. They will start encouraging you. And if you're watching this and you go to smaller conventions and there's a publisher there, smaller conventions are the key. You'll find a chance to sit down, maybe grab a snack with them, or step outside when somebody's having a smoke break or whatever they're doing. And they will give you hints and guidelines. They respond to emails and everything. They want you to succeed because they've been in the industry so long. And this is a phrase that Dan and I've been using, is that a rising tide lifts all boats. And that is so true in this space. And we want,
especially in our space, especially in the Shadowdark
indie scene, and the indie scene in general, I think it really applies because and that's what I was going to say, was a rising tide lifts all ships. And that's what really drew me into the indie scene, was like, there was not a single person that I met that was like, oh no, dude, that's such a silly idea. They're like, dude, that's a great idea. You should do something with it. And it's just so amazing to see, and I love it.
And like Mint Jam says in the chat there, honestly, it's like for us, it all goes back to Kelsey. Like Kelsey fostered that community early on by being so supportive of third party, and building the community up to where when we finally were ready to put this out there, we were met, with pretty open arms. I mean, there were some early criticisms that we took seriously and made some adjustments on, but overall the response from the community has just been like, yeah, let's do it, let's go. And now there's a whole kind of sub community of us that are doing these genre hacks. I mean, it's, we were one of the first, but Shadow West is out there, Shadow Sales, Blacklight, like there's so many different genre hacks now for Shadowdark. It's just awesome. And the encouragement has just been, that's what's key. It just keeps us all going.
Yeah, it's so great to see like such a supportive community around everything. And
Yeah.
yeah, and Michael says the level of encouragement of the Shadowdark scene is fantastic. Yeah.
Yeah.
So my next thing kind of doesn't really segue into this. It's like throwing a brick into the mix, but
That's right.
what would you say the biggest thing you've learned from this Kickstarter is, both from like a design aspect and also from project management? I'm wondering, because there's got to be someone that might watch this. It's like, what's it like to run a Kickstarter?
Yeah.
And what is your biggest takeaways from running this that you've learned?
I would say the biggest thing just to be aware of is it becomes a second job. Like if you've got to stay on top of it. Every night I have my day job, and then I work on the book for a while, and then I go line up Kickstarter promotions and ad campaigns and set up the next update and those things as well. So there's a lot to it. It's not, you can set it and forget it, and you might do well. You never know. And I think that's number two is I think from a project perspective, just like how do you succeed? Exactly. Marketing. But there's some aspects of it because you are leaving it up to people that you have no control over. Sitting and watching it and just like waiting for it to do something is kind of like watching a pot boil. You can't do that. You'll go crazy waiting to see if you can get to that next one. The first day, if you're trying to see if you can get to your funding, do that. But then if you make funding, take a break. Don't sit and watch it like I did when we had this is our second Kickstarter. Our first one was for Void Echoes, which was our little zine. And I sat that first day and just like stared at my phone, trying to make that number move. And my wife was
same.
You're gonna go insane. You need to stop. So I would say that make sure make sure that you realize that at the end of the day, it's an odd thing because you're just relying on people to make a choice. And you look at as fluctuations happen, you look at it and you go, wait, why did that person that went all in, why did they just cancel completely? Like they canceled, they didn't readjust, they just canceled. I don't understand that. And you just have to be like, you can't don't do that. Just you don't know what's going on with that person's life. So
so another thing
I would also say one of the things that Dan taught me. One of the things Stan taught me was we need to make sure, and we had talked about this ahead of time because I didn't know how to do this, but Stan taught me is you need to make sure you have so much prepped ahead of time before you launch. I know over the years, there are a lot of people out there that just said, hey, I'm going to do this to Kickstarter, and then if I get the money, then I'll do all this other stuff. Don't do that. Make sure you've got your printing idea. If you're going to print, make sure you've got that down. Make sure you understand your layout ahead of time, which was a big thing. Than really contributed to this. It was huge, knowing how we wanted the layout done, make sure you've talked to people who have had successful Kickstarters. Just have that ready before you launch. Don't just launch.
A lot of. Go ahead. I was going to say a lot of it is pre-work. Getting those pre-launch followers is huge. If you can get a bunch of pre-launch followers and get them to convert over, then that's a big key to success. We have a newsletter for DarkSpace. go to dmingtheworld.com to sign up. That helped us too. We had a pipeline, had a funnel to get people excited for it.
I can't imagine it's taken too much to get people excited about this.
Well, but you're one in a massive crowd. I mean, it's just yeah. I mean, if you look at, just in the time that we've launched our Kickstarter, I think I've backed 4 or 5 things. It's just there's so many RPG things coming out right now.
There are,
and then if you look at just the Kickstarter, as a whole, if you're just a person that just browses Kickstarter, getting yourself to stand out is hard. So
yeah.
With utilizing a community, build a community and then launch. Like, I think that's key, or find a community and launch within it.
That is the key. For years, you guys know the work I've done as the geek preacher. I think what helped both Than and myself is we have been a part of the community. You can't just launch a Kickstarter. You could do it, and you could even be successful, and I've seen it happen, but you won't have long-term success if you're not a part of the gaming community. Mm-hmm. One of the things, especially in the indie world, people don't want to see you have a corporate mindset. They don't want you looking like one of these big corporations out there. They want to know you play the games. And this is why I look at people like Kelsey and Trollord Games as inspirations. I know Kelsey plays games. Mm-hmm. I know Stephen Chenault plays games. I know Brandon Atkin with Wedding Games plays games. And you have to be a part of the community. And people used to ask me, Derek, I would like to do gaming chaplaincy. How do I do that? I tell them, just go to a gaming convention and be there and be a friend. That's it. That's all I do, is I'm just there and I make myself present. I sit down at tables and I play games with people, and I'm open to conversation. This is how if you want to be a success, that's how I define success. At the end of my life, I want my success defined as I had friends and I brought joy to their lives. It's not about the money in the bank. If it was about money in the bank, I'd have been one of those big, I have a big, loud voice. I could have been one of those big mega church preachers. I turned down those opportunities long ago. It was not what I wanted to do with my life. I don't define success in those ways. I don't think Dan does either. We define success by the friends we have and the relationships we build. And that's what these gaming tables do. They help us build lifelong friendships with people we care about. We come to care about them. You go to conventions now. So many conventions are doing gamer relief funds to help the community.
Yeah.
So many more conventions are becoming charity conventions, so that, like Gamehole Con, which is one of my favorite conventions. Gary Con's one of my favorites too. But Gamehole in particular, I mention it because it is a 501c3 gaming convention. They are not there to make a profit. They are there to build the community. And that's what, if you want to be a success in this, be a success by building community around the table.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. And that's why I've initially and still do want to do this, is because it introduces people to potential new friends, new games that they may not have heard of. And the friendships that I've made from doing this are just, I can't even think of a word to describe it right now. It's unreal is really the only thing I can describe it with. And and Bill just said, I've fallen in love with the community. The RPG community is the best there is. And he is absolutely right.
Yeah.
It's so
and we
amazing.
fall in love with Bill.
Yeah.
So speaking of community, this is the perfect segue. I heard you guys recently discovered a live play of DarkSpace out there.
Yeah.
How crazy was that to be like, wow, these guys are like, that is going to be the coolest thing. You know, to be like,
yeah.
these guys are playing my game and sharing it with the world. I mean,
And we knew nothing about it. I mean, so we had I had done a one shot with Dungeons and Dyslexia. Derek's done a couple one shots. We've known a couple. It has happened on a stream like that before. These guys, we didn't know anything about it. They didn't reach out to us ahead of time and say, "Hey, we'd like to partner with you." Anything like that. They were just looking. They wanted to run a sci-fi game, and they already knew Shadowdark, and they're like, "Hey, there's this Sci-Fi Rules. Let's check it out." And so they ran it. It's I think 4 episodes, and we didn't find out about it until we were live on the air with our AMA that we did, and one of them was in the chat and said, "Hey, we just finished up an actual play for." Using DarkSpace, and it's great. I definitely go find out. Derek, what's the name? Dungeons and is it
Drunken Dragons?
Drunken Dragons.
Drunken.
Yeah.
Right.
Or Dungeons and it's I'm maybe butchering it. It's something like that though. Yeah, Drunken Dragons or Dungeons
and
and
the
Dreams
name of the actual
Dungeons
play is. It's funny because they're calling the rules Dark Spacer.
Yeah. And then we can't get their name right either.
Yeah, but that's to me funny because I like the term dark spacer. They're dark spacers.
Well,
that's great.
Yeah.
And I've watched some of it, and they're doing so much role playing. It's so great seeing these guys sitting around there doing an incredible amount of role playing. So seeing that was really great. And so I was just flabbergasted that somebody would like our rules enough. And that's just powerful. And I hope to see more people doing actual plays. We're talking with some friends. I'm not going to mention it right now, but they're talking about doing an actual play pretty soon.
Yeah.
Nice.
We're going to be talking with them pretty soon about their actual play, which is really exciting.
Yeah. And it's, it's one of those things again, where, we want people to use it, however they want to use it. And so it's if people are watching and they're like, oh, I've wanted to do a sci-fi, but I don't know, I don't know how to translate, a traveler into an actual play, or I don't know how to, translate the Star Wars, Fantasy Flight with the odd dice into an actual play, and how to show that, everybody understands D20. That's why I think it works well for that. It plays very fast as well. And Dark Spacers is the what we're going to be calling our character generator, or our online character generator. DarkSpacers.com is going to be, when we finally launch it, it's going to be our version of Shadowdarklings, which is the Shadowdark character creator. So Dark Spacers is going to be our character creator. So it fits.
That is very cool.
Yeah.
I'm going to save mechanics questions for a little bit later, because I've got a really fun question to me here.
Okay.
If you could choose any sci-fi creator or scientist, past or present, to run a game for either of you, who would it be?
To run for us?
Yes.
Because I was about to say, if it was the other way around, who would I like to run for?
Well, we could do both, actually.
Okay. Well, so one popped in my head. I would not want him to run a game for me, because when I say the name, you'll see why. Because it would go off rails quickly. But I have met Neil deGrasse Tyson in person, and I would love to run a game for him, because I think he would have fun with it as a player. I don't think I would want him to be the GM though. I think it would get too well, actually, very quickly.
Yes.
But he's a fun guy. It's from a scientist perspective. Derek, I'm gonna think about who I would want to run one for me. Have you got anybody?
Who I would like to run? I don't think any sci-fi creator that I would think of that I'd want to run for me, I don't think would run a game well, because they wouldn't know how. Because they were mainly writers. But someone I would love to see if he could run a game would be J. Michael Straczynski, who created Babylon 5.
Yep.
J. Michael Straczynski would be a good one.
I bet he could. I bet he could.
Yeah, I bet
he's
could
dabbled
run
enough
it.
in TV and comics and geekdom. I bet he could run a game.
But I will tell you the person I would love to have in my game, Elaine Lee, the mother of Brennan Lee Mulligan, who wrote Starstruck Odyssey. Because that means Brennan would have to play in the game. She'd bring Brennan along, and I would love that because I absolutely adore Brennan Lee Mulligan. I mean, that is one of my man crushes there because he's just creative and clever. But having Elaine Lee in that game and running a Starstruck Odyssey game would be just amazing.
Yeah, what she did with Starstruck the comic was so wild and inventive. That would be a lot of fun. And it started as a play. I don't know if you knew that, Derek, but Starstruck started as a play that she wrote and starred in. And so she's definitely got the theatrics for it. So I was trying to think, okay, so creators, who I do think actually would be a fun one to run a game would be Rockney S. O'Bannon, one of the creators on Farscape.
Oh, nice.
He had he has that kind of like out there style there. I think he would be good. From an actor or someone like that. I mean, I think if you could get anyone, most of the Firefly crew would be good players. Getting Alan Tudyk to play in my game would be amazing.
Unreal.
He'd have to play. He has to play a robot. He has to play a robot though.
Yeah.
My very first Cyberpunk. Casey says my very first Cyberpunk game was run by Mike Pondsmith. Man, wow! Right out of the gate. That's awesome. So cool. That's very cool. He would be I've never gotten a chance to play in one of Mike's games. I was scheduled to be in one. I think it was either GaryCon 2020 or PAX Unplugged 2020, and it got canceled. So I've never gotten a chance to play in one of Mike's games, unfortunately.
Well, hopefully you will eventually. I was kind of thinking Carl Sagan would be fun.
Sagan would be interesting. I don't know if he could do it as a GM, but to let him be a player and just let his mind work.
Yep.
I think that would be pretty cool.
I would take him on either side of the table, I think. One, because I loved his cadence and the way he spoke. And I think that would be really fun.
Just listen to him run as a GM.
I would just be sitting there, kind of how Derek was saying Brennan was one of his man crushes. Like, I loved Carl Sagan, and I would just be sitting there like, listening to him talk,
That's true. Yeah, he's got the GM voice for sure.
Yeah, he like does. That narrator.
Yeah, that'd be good. Oh, I loved Cosmos. I loved watching Cosmos as a kid.
Yep.
Yes. Sagan.
Yeah, Sagan would be fun. But let's see. I guess we'll jump into mechanics and then come back to a couple more fun questions. What is your favorite new or expanded mechanic that you're either going to be adding adding to the game? And personally, I like that you're going to be expanding on shipbuilding because I am a humongous dork for like modular building of stuff. And I saw that and I'm like, yes, more ship building. I've got to enunciate the P for short in ship building.
I think that's definitely up there for me. The ship classifications, the new six ship classifications that we that I kind of came up with after the core rules. I think people are going to really like because one, you can do modular shipbuilding with them. So you can pick and choose what features and systems you want to put in there. And we try to keep it very lightweight. They give you a basic, mechanical advantage if you've got them on your ship. We didn't want to go too nitty gritty on it, too crunchy with it. But the ship classifications also level. And I think that's something that folks are going to like. I hope they do, because as Derek and I were kind of talking back and forth about this, we were like, one of the things that we've always liked about the sci-fi that we like is a lot of times the ship is another member of the crew, another character. Millennium Falcon, Serenity, they all have this personality to them, even though they don't do anything. And so what better way to show that is a member of your crew than have its own class and level with the crew as well and get better. And so that will give you some ways that it naturally upgrades over time. And then you can also, of course, do your own upgrading and mechanics as well. So I think people will really like that. I'm glad that we're going to be adding the hacking rules in the hacking rules. First were in Xenosalvage that we wrote with Menagerie Press. Being able to pull those over into the main book are going to be great. They are very lightweight. They are a sort of a reworking of the triad, which is our force powers. And so it's sort of a reworking of that to still let you do whatever you want to, but kind of give you some basic mechanics to do it. And then the corruption rules that we also added with the Kickstarter that will allow you to show a physical corruption, an emotional corruption, a mental corruption, or a technological corruption. If you get a cyber psychosis or a technovirus and your body starts to turn into circuitry or something like that, those mechanics, I think people will be able to really play with and have some fun with there as well. What about you, Derek? I gave more than one.
Of course, I love all of those. And on other interviews, I've said I really love Than's chase rules that he put together, because it uses the Shadowdark's distance, close, near, and far for chase, which is really great. But the thing I've really been thinking a lot about lately that I really like is how we've changed one of our archetypes. We're now adding a machine-based archetype. Instead of the multifunction android, it's turning into a machine-based archetype, which is going to really answer some questions a lot of people have had about life support and things of that nature. But I really love the idea of basically you're putting a human in a mech suit is what you can do. You're putting a sentient being in a mech suit, and that can be your entire archetype. Because in so much sci-fi, especially the sci-fi that influenced the generation raised on anime, is that idea of crawling into that thing and being able to go. And one of the reasons I liked it, and I was talking to my daughter about it, because my daughter, before we created the DarkSpace rules, I was experimenting with some other sci-fi systems, and my daughter was playing in that, my adult daughter, and that's what she wanted to be. She wanted to be inside a suit. And so I just jury-rigged a lot of things, and it worked out really nice, but it was much more free form. And so she always had a lot of questions. And I think this machine-based archetype will help us answer a lot of those questions right off the bat while still keeping it simple and fluid.
Yeah. And we broke just like with the multifunction android in the core rules, it was like androids were a species and multifunction android was an archetype. We still have a machine-based species option, and we have a machine-based archetype as well. So if you want to still be a quick or a strong or a clever archetype, but you want to have a little bit of that power armor vibe to it. So like you were talking about anime, Derek, and the first thing I kind of thought about was Bubblegum Crisis. Where they were rock stars, right? They were like these pop singers, but at night they would put these like mech suits on and go fight androids and cyborgs. And so they would be like charming or clever characters, but they still had that power armor capability to them. And so we have that both ways. So you can have a little bit or a lot, or you could do all together and you're just the full thing. You're Iron Man. So,
Nice.
Yeah.
We played that song during my game. I am Iron Man.
Iron Man. Nice. Casey pointed out there, Dave, side note, I love that you did not provide a list of triad powers, spells. It works so much better to let them be creative. We do in the new book have examples. We did have a lot of people ask, "Do you at least show us some examples of what this looks like?" So we have like a 1 page for body. And we also clarified some terminology there. But I'd used powers before in some of the wording, and sometimes it sounds like we're talking about body, mind, and soul, and sometimes it sounds like we're talking about what you do with those. So the power is body, mind, and soul. What you do with it is a feat. So we have example feats for each of the powers, so people can at least get some inspiration, but we still want people to be creative and use it however they want to.
Yes.
Tell them to watch Star Wars. Yeah. Well, but isn't that divisive, Casey? I mean, like when in Last Jedi, when Leia suddenly uses the Force to fly in space, people were outraged. You can't do that with the Force. Like, why can't you? It's the Force. Like, we just haven't ever seen it before. So,
Yep.
That's kind of my thought.
I agree. So expanding from 80 to 200 pages plus possibly has to be rather daunting. How many, this is going to be hard to express, but how many moments have you had while working on this thus far? Of like,
what's crazy is those moments are I don't think we've got room for this still. Like Derek and I have several things that are on our wish list that I'm just like, I still don't think we can fit this in the book. Like it's just like our list that we would do would be a massive book if we wanted to do everything we wanted to do. But going from 80 to 200, the main thing was there were key areas that we knew we had to either include or expand on. We didn't have a GM section in the core rules. That was consciously cut out of the core rules to keep it cost effective, keep it affordable for folks, because we didn't know if people were even going to be interested in this to begin with. And so that was the first thing, was we've got to have a GM section. We've got to get all of those random tables that Shadowdark players love, especially Shadowdark GMs love. And we had our list of like, what's that going to look like? It was very important that we had a section on, what's our core ethos, just like Shadowdark has its core ethos, how to run sci-fi games. Derek's done a great job of writing how to run a sci-fi game and what does that look like, how to tell sci-fi stories. And then I also I do a lot of solo play. I have a solo game that I've been doing on the DMing the World YouTube channel that I wanted to make sure people had solo play. And so that's in there as well. So the GM section is a large portion of that. And then, it's not it's not all theoretical. There's a lot of like very, very usable things in it. Lots of tables, lots of random generators, lots of fun things there. And then expanding on denizens and expanding on enhanced items. We gave just enough to get people some inspiration and some tastes in the core rules, but we're going to have over 100 denizens in the new book. We're going to have over 100 enhanced items in the new book. And so by the time that we bring those three sections together, that's a lot of it. Expanding on ships was the other one. Because we just didn't have the room to do a proper shipbuilding in the core rules. And so that was the other one that was like, we gotta take some room for that as well.
Yeah.
So Midgar says, "What's
What's
not
not
going in the book?" I would say that
The
would
kitchen
be
sink.
the
The
yeah.
kitchen
Dark-
sink is not going in.
the advanced DarkSpace rulebook coming out in
our playtest, like my home like group, that's our playtest group, they bug me all the time. So like, okay, so this is there's the core, there's the quick start rules, there's the core rules, there's the expanded edition. So when are you going to be doing the advanced expanded? I'm like, no, we're not like we're not going to do that. The main thing that's not going to be in this is a setting. We're going to have our 12 one-page settings, which will help people create their own subgenre settings. So it'll be like, how do I make a space western? How do I make a space horror? Like those sorts of things. And what switches do you toggle between us and Shadowdark to make that happen? But we're not going to have like the DarkSpace unified setting in this. That will probably come at some point. Derek and I both have ideas for probably multiples. We both have ideas for settings, but we can't do a
Which reflect.
I want to get out. Oh, pledge canceled. No kitchen sink. Pledge canceled.
But you can add your own kitchen sink. There you go. Add it to
exactly.
the galley.
Make your own kitchen. Make your own kitchen sink. Bring your own kitchen sink.
Yeah.
One of the things that we're one of the things that I think that we're debating right now is we would very much like to put an appendix in style section in the book. We would call it like Appendix D or something like that. But like, what are our inspirations? Like, what are some examples of books we've read, movies we watched, TV shows, comics, like those sorts of things. We would both love to do that. But then do I leave out 20 denizens? Like it's just gonna be we're having to watch our page count there and figure out how that's gonna work. So that may or may not be in. If not, we'll put it somewhere else. People will have access. We will make sure people have access to it.
Yeah, that is the big thing is because of our core, part of our core ethos is play sci-fi your way. Is we want people to, there is a lot of sci-fi that's come out over the course of my lifetime, but I also want people to look back at the historical sci-fi. And here's a hint for any of you publishers out there. There is a lot of stuff in the public domain that you can build off of. Think about this. I mean, here's just a hint. If somebody wants to write this. 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea. As a sci-fi novel.
Oh, yeah.
There you go. As a sci-fi adventure, as a sci-fi setting, even if you will. There is so much stuff out there. So part of it is I want you to be influenced by the classics, the classic literature that's out there, but also the modern literature we've got. We live in an Alexandrian world, if you will. We have the Library of Alexandria at our fingertips. So don't forget those classics. And public domain is your friend. It really is. I'm working on an adventure right now based off of one of the things I've really loved that Shadowdark did and does well are one-page adventures. So I'm working on an adventure right now based off The Tower of the Elephant by Robert E. Howard because it's public domain. And you can turn that into a one-page adventure and then just reference parts of that 40 pages. I think it was only a 40-page short story. Then reference that. Then the GM only has to purchase your one-page adventure and then get that 40-page Tower of the Elephant and then take some of the clues and hints in it and just port that over into your sci-fi game. That's the key is, man, be exposed, to a wide range of influences because as a GM, your players are going to want different things. And that's why you've got to be flexible. I am not a fan of it's okay if you run your games like this. I don't want to, poop on anybody's cornflakes. But I am not a fan of you have to play my way. in my games.
Mhm.
You know,
Yeah.
I want it to be a collaborative experience between the GM and the players, because that's where I work best at.
Yeah. Yeah.
So really the last thing I've got, we're coming up on an hour here, which has flown by. I've been having an absolute blast talking with the
Yeah.
two of you.
Yeah.
Is if there's anyone on the fence that might be watching, might watch tonight or might watch tomorrow, that's like, geez, I don't know. I really want to back this, but I don't know. What would you say to them to push them over the edge and get them to back this project?
If you are a classic sci-fi RPG fan, back us so we can get Mark Miller in the book. Like he has committed. He has already submitted something to us. It is amazing.
Yep.
It is, I think, a fantastic homage to Mark's work. We want to hit that stretch goal. And if you are a Shadowdark fan, back us so we can get Kelsey's in there. That's the top goal. It's a lofty goal, but she has already committed to add something to our book. She's been a friend for a long time. It was easy for her to say yes, and she's already given us a concept, and it will. I will say this: it will answer a question that a lot of people have had about DarkSpace. If we can get Kelsey in the book, so get that, and then Midgar Press put in there. The glow in the dark cover is so cool. Like if you go for that deluxe edition, it boggles my mind. I will say this: there are still early bird pricings on the deluxe cover. I don't know how that's possible, but we had 100 out there. They've not all been snapped up yet. That glow in the dark cover is going to be so cool. You're going to want it. So go grab it. And you can get a deal on it right now. Derek, what about you?
I would simply say back at this project, because the more we make off this project, the more DarkSpace and these type of games you'll see out there. When you back independent creators like us, as Casey said, WotC won't profit from your support. But you're also backing independent creators that allow us to create more and allow us, as we've already said in this video, to encourage other creators. You are backing two people who want to see other people succeed. And so, back us and you're going to see more products like this. I watched a podcast just a little while back, and they were like, oh man, all these third-party products are on the downswing. Let's prove them wrong. Let us show them that independent creators can be successful. And when you see people like us being successful, no knock on us, but if we can do it, you can do it. And so by backing creators like us, you're encouraging other people to get out there and do the same thing. And we will encourage other people to get out there and do the same thing.
Yep.
And inspire. Once we get off of here, I've got an idea I want to pitch to you guys.
Nice.
I have had, but that was actually all I had. Thank you so much for coming on today, guys. I have had so much fun.
Thank you for having us.
And everyone in the chat, thank you so much for all your questions, comments, and being so active. It is greatly appreciated. If you haven't backed DarkSpace yet, click the link down in the description. Get over there, back it. Let's hit these last few stretch goals, and let's just put this into the deep, deep galaxy with how far it can go. And other than that, folks, have a great day. Thanks for watching Games with Dave, and we will see you next time.
Bye.
Bye.
All right.